I'm Mike Connors, and this is How It Ticks. Our fourth story takes us into the world of exploration. We'll learn about Johann Ludwig Burckhardt, a Swiss adventurer famously credited with rediscovering the ancient city of Petra. The next one, I found an absolutely incredible story, and I really, really enjoyed reading it. If you ever chose to go in more detail about this guy, I'm sure there's a lot more story to tell, and which is the Johann Ludwig Burckhardt, a really incredible story of exploration. Can you explain to me who he is and why he's so famous? Well, why his story is so special? I think maybe he isn't as famous as he should be.
Right. So, I think some Swiss people do know that he rediscovered Petra.
Mm.
He's the European man who rediscovered Petra. I think they don't know that he was a researcher. He was something of a clandestine agent for the British during the Napoleonic Wars, operating in the Near East, in particular in the Levant. So, what is present day Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, and Israel. Later, he goes to Egypt, and he also goes to what is now Saudi Arabia. He had a remarkable talent. He comes from a patrician family that is renowned in Basel, the Burckhardt family. And he had a remarkable linguistic talent. And he also is Napoleonic in terms of his sentiments. And after the disastrous battles at Austerlitz, where the Austrians are decimated by the French forces of Napoleon, in the Battle of Jena the next year in 1806, where Napoleon decimates the Prussians, he sees Great Britain as the only remaining power that can defeat Napoleon. And so he goes to Great Britain. He wanted to become a civil servant. It didn't quite work out that way. He instead joins the African Association, which was this group of intellectuals who wanted to research the origins and the exact pathway of the Niger River in Africa. Francis Bacon says knowledge is power. At this period in time, you not only have imperial rivalries between Britain and France, but you have a rivalry with the accumulation of knowledge. You may be familiar, Mike, with the Rosetta Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The French are trying to decipher the Rosetta Stone. They're trying to be the first ones to decipher ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. And so that's part of this puzzle, too. Well, the British are interested in cultural and geographical information. And he goes to the Near East to perfect his Arabic. He adopts a pseudonym, which is so wild. I mean, you can't make this up. Sheikh Ibrahim. And
so that was his net. That was what he adopted. Sheikh Ibrahim.
Yeah. So that was his pseudonym. And he became very interested in Petra, the ancient Nabatean city, which is in present-day Jordan. Becomes something of a passion and of a goal for him to visit and put it on the map. And he does. And this is remarkable. But where I think Burckhardt's real importance lies, it lies in his body of work. He wrote many texts about Arab culture, religion, ritual practices, texts about the art and architecture of the Near East, especially the archaeological ruins he's very interested in. And he writes his works in a vein that is not only objective, but is also quite vivid as well. And this is exceptional and this is rare.
His stories, he's essentially journaling and documenting everything he does. How is he traveling? So he's going mostly by ship and entering these countries by coast, or he's traveling through countries on horseback. What does it look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of the travel he did by himself. Of course, he travels by ship across the Mediterranean to get to the Levant.
Which is insane to imagine he's going by himself by ship to all these incredibly remote places.
I love it. This is something too. I tell my Swiss friends, they joke about the Swiss being risk averse. And then I think of people like Madame de Stael or Gallatin or Burckhardt. I mean, he really went into the unknown. And just like when he discovered Petra, he had hired a guide and then the guide abandoned him. He finds Bedouins. He's able to speak to them in Arabic and says, like to go to Petra. And they take him through. It's remarkable, right? So he is doing this reconnaissance work, most of it on his own. He's very worried about being discovered, his true identity being revealed. So he is a little surreptitious. He's very careful about where and how he takes notes. He does perfect his Arabic, but he claims that he's a native Hindustani speaker and from South Asia. And then when people ask to hear Hindustani, he speaks Swiss German.
What?
Which is wild.
Which is wild. I'm trying to...
Which is absolutely...
Because no one on earth understands Swiss German outside of, well, the Swiss German, the canton that they're in. What does that mean? If you're in Petra and you discover this foreigner speaking Swiss German, what do you think they make of that at that time? Do you think if they hear Swiss German, he's in trouble, he has to keep it a secret, or his life's at risk? Is that foreigners are not welcome?
Well, he really wants to be in service to Great Britain. So he takes his work quite seriously. I think locals just would have not had any idea. The Swiss German aspect is a very good cover. He's very clever. Yeah, he's so clever, I must say. And he really picked up Arabic, a degree of Arabic where he could pass as a native speaker. So even if somebody said, oh, your accent's a little funny, usually he could smooth things over. So he's very, smooth operator. Maybe that's his other alias.
Whatever happened to him? My understanding is he didn't live for so long, unfortunately.
So all these journeys out into the desert and into the wilderness took their toll. And he died at the age of 33. And he's buried in Cairo, not too far from the district that is called Heliopolis. And there is a tomb there. There is a grave. One of the big debates surrounding his life is whether or not he converted to Islam and whether or not this conversion was genuine. I'm of the opinion it was genuine. He did visit Mecca and Medina. And his tomb, his grave, is well respected. It's not venerated, but he's well respected. And he's not seen through an imperialist lens by the Arabs. He's seen kind of as a colorful hero in Dar al-Arabiya in the Islamic world. So much so that the late King Hussein awarded him posthumously with a medal.
Who was King Hussein? Who was he the king of?
Of Jordan.
Of Jordan.
Of Jordan. This is the father of the current king. So, yeah, interesting, but life cut short.
What is the legacy that he left behind? What in the field of exploration and discovery? What progress did he make for what was the name of the institution he was with? The African Association?
Yeah, well, he never, just when he's about to get ready to go into the Sahara, he dies. The years of roughing it up took their toll, unfortunately. But it is the body of information that Burckhardt consolidated, that Burckhardt recorded, was an invaluable resource to the British moving forward into the Pax Britannica, this great age where Britain is the leading superpower worldwide. So while I don't see Burckhardt necessarily as an Orientalist, I don't see Burckhardt as an agent of imperialism either. It is true that some of his works were later used by people in imperialist enterprises and in colonial exhibitions and so forth. nonetheless, as I said earlier, I think there's a wonderful human element represented in his work. He is not prejudiced. He is His writing is vivid, it's very clear, it's very objective, and it's very respectful too. And I think that's kind of a wonderful legacy that reflects on him quite nicely.
Is he remembered in any way still in Switzerland, in Basel? Is there somewhere where you can go with his name on it?
There was an exhibition several years ago, and part of this exhibition in Basel discussed Burckhardt and his exploration and his work for the British, and of course Petra as well. But he's another figure that is not necessarily so well known. Also, as I said, there is this debate whether Burckhardt or not really genuinely converted to Islam. Burckhardt arguably is the first well-known Swiss convert to Islam. And so that's quite interesting too. Yeah. So very dynamic figure, very colorful, very unusual.
The opposite of the Swiss stereotype. And I guess that's probably a pretty common theme, to be honest, across a lot of these stories that you're telling today. It really proves that the stereotype of the Swiss really is not a good snapshot of what so many people are.